Good day, students. In our previous lesson, we talked about the background, setting, and the plot summary of the text She Stoops to Conquer. But today we're going to talk about characterization. That is the role played by each character in the play. The first character I'm going to begin with is Sir Charles Marlowe. He is the father of young Marlowe. He is also an old friend of Mr. Hardcastle. He is a respectable and aristocratic fellow from the town. He follows his son a few hours behind to ensure that nothing is wrong with the journey of his son and also the marriage proposal. Sir Charles and Mr. Hardcastle once haven't been in the British military. That's to say that they are all-time friends. He was quite upset when his son treated Kate as a mate. The significance of Sir Charles Marlowe's character. Every father is always proud of a son with good qualities. His coming to Mr. Hardcastle's house is to ensure nothing goes wrong with the marriage proposal. His role also demonstrates the 18th century practice of parents' involvement in the choice of marital partners. Another character is young Charles Marlowe. He is a son to Sir Charles Marlowe, and he is a scholar with many good qualities. That is why he was designed for employment in service of his country. He is also a promising young man, and he is promising in the sense that his father asked him to go and marry a lady he has never seen before, but he didn't kick against it, but he calmly obeyed his father. His only drawback is that he is extremely shy around refined young ladies. That's to say that he is a modest fellow, but the only setback in his life is that he is always shy and bashful in the midst of high-class ladies. But in the midst of low-class ladies, he is very comfortable. He is also the central and pivotal male character in the play. More so, Marlowe is brash and rude to Mr. Hardcastle. So when they entered Mr. Hardcastle's house, he behaved rudely and ordered Mr. Hardcastle around anyhow. Apart from that, he possessed a strange contradictory character. That is why when Kate dressed in her high-class dress, he finds it difficult to look into her eye and even to complete his sentences. But when she stooped low, he was so comfortable and talked to her freely without any problem. And apart from that, when his parents asked him if he's in love with Kate, he denied it. But when they are together with Kate, you can even kneel down to plead with her to please marry him. So it makes his character to be contradictory. Marlowe's redeeming qualities make him a likable character. That's another role played by Marlowe. The significance of young Marlowe's role. Because Marlowe's rudeness is comic, the audience is likely not to dislike him for it. Secondly, the character of young Marlowe is similar to the description of Goldsmith himself. Remember at the beginning of this lesson, I explained in the background, I say what gives background to this play is the experience of the playwright, that is Goldsmith himself. He was misled to Mr. Featherstone's house as an inn, and on reaching there, he mistook Mr. Featherstone as his host. And apart from that, Goldsmith himself has once behaved exactly the way young Marlowe did, finds it difficult to associate with high-class ladies. He's more comfortable in the midst of low-class ladies. Mr. Hardcastle, that's another major character. He is a middle-aged gentleman who lives in an old mansion in the countryside about 60 miles from London. He despises the ways of the town. He hates anything that has to do with town. And he's the father of Kate Hardcastle. He is a realist who loves everything old. He loves old wife, old house, old friends, and he loves telling old stories about his military regime. Mr. Hardcastle cares for his daughter Kate, but insists that she dresses plainly in his presence. So because of the love he has for his daughter, he decided to look for a suitable husband for her. It didn't end here. He also insists that in the morning she can dress the way she likes to welcome visitors, but in the evening she has to dress plainly in order to suit him. It is he who arranges for Marlowe to come to the country to marry his daughter, and he did this all because of the love he has for his daughter Kate. The significance of Mr. Hardcastle's role. Mr. Hardcastle's love for the rustic life away from fashionable London is portrayed. He may be stuffy and old-fashioned, but values his wife and loves his daughter. Hardcastle is a man of manner. Manner in the sense that, despite the impudent act or behavior of Marlowe, he still remained calm until towards the end of the play that he reacted. Hardcastle demonstrates his wealth of forgiveness. He demonstrates this by forgiving young Marlowe all his misbehavior, and to further demonstrate his wealth of forgiveness, he allowed young Marlowe to also marry his lovely daughter Kate. Chad Hastings is another major character. He is a close friend of young Marlowe and an admirer of Miss Constance Neville. While Marlowe is busy with Kate, Hastings is busy with Constance. Apart from that, Hastings is also a decent fellow. That is why it's because of his decency that made young Marlowe to ask him to accompany him to the countryside to woo his loved one. He is an educated man who cares deeply about Constance. That's why he was even willing to elope with her without her fortunes. He doesn't care about her wealth. His problem is the love that he has for her. When Hastings realizes the Hardcastle's house is not an inn, he decides not to tell Marlowe. And it's not that he did this out of selfishness, but because he knew the type of friend he has. By the time he informed him that that is Mr. Hardcastle's house, he may leave at once and his plan of marrying Constance will not succeed. The significance of Hastings' role. True love does not thrive on material heritage. That point have been explained. His companionship to Charles Marlowe boosts Marlowe's confidence in dealing with Kate. Because when Kate first entered, before she came in, he has, counseled him on how to behave when Kate comes around. And his presence gave him boldness to talk to Kate. But when he left, everything changed. Tony accepts to help Hastings elope with Constance. So, because Tony doesn't like Constance, he's seeing her as a problem on his side. So he decided to help Tony. He decided to help Hastings. to elope with Constance by stealing the fortune, that is the jewel casket, in custody of Mrs. Hardcastle. Tony Lumpkin, that's another character. He's a son of Mrs. Hardcastle by her first husband. He is a mischievous, uneducated playboy and a consumptive figure. He is a fat, ale-drinking young man. He proves to be good-natured and well-behaved, while he is not. Mrs. Hardcastle has no authority over Tony because he is very rude, and she cannot control him because she has once pampered him in such a way that his behavior is reflecting back to the treatment she has given him. Tony takes an interest in Bed Bouncer and the Ale House. Bed Bouncer is his girlfriend, and the Ale House is the place that he normally drinks and enjoy himself with his friends. And the friends he made there are lower class, and according to their custom, he's not supposed to associate with them, but he is very free in their midst. When Tony comes of age, he will receive £1,500 a year. So that is what has been promised for him. His mother hopes to marry him to her niece, that is Constance Neville, in order to keep the wealth, that is the jewels casket, in her custody, still in the family. Tony and Neville despise each other. So Tony doesn't love Neville and Neville doesn't love Tony, but they pretend to be in love so that Mrs. Hardcastle will be convinced that they are truly in love while they were not. The significance of Tony's role. It is Tony's initial deception of Marlowe and Hastings for a joke, which set up the plot. Tony helped Neville and Hastings in their plans because he despises her. Tony's arrogance is probably because of the huge inheritance that awaits him. Mrs. Dorothy. She is a wife to Mr. Hardcastle and mother to Tony and Kate. And she is also an aunt to Constance Neville. She overprotects and loves Tony but fails to tell him he is of age. She yearns to sample life in high society because she has high taste, and she loves living in the city, and she loves things that are of fashionable things. She values material possessions. That's why she finds it difficult to release the jewels at her custody to Constance. Mrs. Hardcastle is corrupt, eccentric character. She is selfish. So when you look at all her roles, she did it out of selfishness. She's self-centered. The significance of Dorothy's role. She is a contrast to her husband. Over-pampering of children can lead to misbehavior. That is exactly what affects Tony Lumpkin. Desperate material quest is likely to end up disastrously, because at the end of this play, it was only Dorothy, that is Mrs. Hardcastle, that is not happy at the end, but all other characters were happy. Another character is Miss Kate Hardcastle. She's a daughter of the Hardcastles, that is Mr. and Mrs. Hardcastle, who is ruled by young Marlowe. Kate has respect for her father. She stoops to conquer Marlowe. She resembles such Shakespearean heroines as Viola in 12 Nights and Roslyn in As You Like It. She enjoys the attributes of the town, but she cannot go against the will of her father. The significance of Kate's role. She allows Marlowe's mistake of her identity to discover what he really thinks of her. She is calculating and scheming. That is why she is able to stoop to get what she wants. She worries that custom will force her into a boring and loveless marriage. But at the end, she realized that young Marlowe is a good man is because he was misled. So she was happy at the end. Miss Constance Naveley, that's another character. She is an orphan and the niece and ward of Mrs. Hardcastle. Calmly love Hastings. That's why she kept the relationship since from town up to the time she went to the village. She kept the relationship and she is seriously in love with Hastings and even willing to elope with him. Her aunt wishes her to marry Tony, but she doesn't love Tony. She loves Hastings. Neverly schemes with Hastings and Tony to get the jewels in custody of Mrs. Hardcastle. The significance of Neverly's role. Miss Neverly is projected as a focused, determined lady. Material greed in Mrs. Hardcastle is signposted for scheming to matchmake Tony and Neverly. Diggory, that's another character. He's the head servant in Mr. Hardcastle's house. He's a talkative, a likable servant with bad table manners. Mr. Hardcastle oriented him and others on how to serve formally. That is when the visitors will arrive. He gave them orientation on how to behave, how to serve the drinks, the food, how to attend to the visitors, all. So he's a talkative. He's even the one that cautioned Mr. Hardcastle that now that he asks them not to laugh when they see them laughing, except if he will not tell a particular story that always make him to laugh. If not, he cannot help himself. So he's a funny character and a talkative, of which Mr. Hardcastle at the end allow them that they are free to laugh in terms of that story, but for other things they should remain calm. He delivers the letter which tells Tony that Hastings needs fresh horses to elope with Constance. The significance of Diggory's role. He serves as a useful ingredient in the comic menu. That's one. Number two, the letter he delivers brings complication to the plot because at that time there was serious conflict because Mrs. Hardcastle is made to know the plan on ground. So these are some of the major characters with their significances. Apart from these ones, there are other minor characters like the maid, the male servants, the maid servants in Mr. Hardcastle's house, the landlord at the ale house, and also the first, second, and third and fourth fellow. They also form part of the characters, but their role is minor. So in our next lesson, we're going to talk about the theme that dominates the play She Stoops to Conquer. Good day.